Welcome back. It's Hard Facts and 92.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Sam Oracle Chinedu. For this hour, we're having conversations about life and death. The biggest story in the country right now is about a 21-year-old who is allegedly killed a man. Some say it was her sugar daddy. I'm only going to speak about what we can confirm, as much information as we have. But before we get to that, let's talk about the capabilities, the characteristics of living things. This is something you and I learned in primary school, I believe. Or was it secondary? Anyways, it was Mr. Niger D. Now, initially, when they say, what are the characteristics of living things? I remember I used to say Mr. Niger. It was always Mr. Niger. And then one day, I can't remember if it was a teacher that added the D and said it's always been there. Mr. Niger D. And what was the D? Death. And I thought to myself at the time, why is death a characteristic of living things? It feels like it goes against the question, living things. Things that live. Why is one of the things that they do, they exhibit, their character, death? Well, as I grew, I understood that living things die too. And so it's a character. If you cherish life, if there is life, then there is death. And it's one of the many things that happened. Nutrition and all the other things in Mr. Niger. And the end of all of it is death. But you see, even though there's a bit of a fear of death, I'm not trying to make the show morbid. I just want to touch on it before I get to the story. It feels there is a wonderful way to die. There's a good way to die. And what would you say is a good way to die? Well, some would say, in my deathbed as an old man, I've lived a fulfilled life. I've seen my children and my children's children and maybe their own children. Everybody wants to be old. They want to, have maybe no regrets and breathe their final breath surrounded by family. You know how it happens in movies, which really doesn't happen in real life. That's how we see a good death. And the funeral ceremony will be tagged celebration of life. That means it's not a painful death. Now, if that is a good death, then what qualifies as a bad death? It seems the story that I want to share now, which you very likely have heard, is a bad death. The police in Lagos have arrested a university student accused of killing Osifo Ataga, the chief executive officer of Super TV. Ataga was said to have been found in a pool of his blood after he was stabbed to death at a house where he reportedly lodges in the Lekki area of Lagos. 21-year-old Chidinma Ojuku, a 300-level mass communication student of the University of Lagos, spoke to a reporter when she was paraded at the Lagos State Police Command Headquarters in Ikeja on Thursday. She told reporters she stabbed him thrice.
It was midnight, so we have drank and we have smoked SK loud, so I was already sleepy. And then when it came on second, it was violent about it. He locked the door. I didn't know where he kept the key. When I get to the door, he would draw me back, and that was what happened. The first one was twice on the neck side. And then when he dragged the knife from me, he managed to slice my hand. And then as he was holding it, the knife broke, so it slipped off from his hand. But then it was now weak, and then he fell on the floor. Well, while he was lying there, I changed, and then I looked for the key for where he ate it, and I left him.
The Commissioner of Police in the state, Hakeem Odumosu, told reporters the owner of the rented apartment where the death occurred has been arrested and held in police detention. Odumosu added that the Attacker's bank account has been blocked to prevent further withdrawals by those taking advantage of his untimely death. Chidinma withdrew some money from his account after his death. Sad. Truly sad. A painful death is an avoidable death. The one that if you think back 2 or 3 steps, you begin to say, oh, if this did not happen, if he did not do this, if they were not where they were, if they had only done this, maybe he would still be here. A painful death is one where a family member dies in a hospital due to negligence or because they don't have what they're supposed to have. They say, oh, there's no power supply or there aren't enough doctors. And because of that, he passed on. A painful death is your family member not getting medical attention because doctors are on strike. It hurts because you keep thinking about how the system killed your family member. If only we had a government that pays attention. If only. A painful death is one accompanied by if only. Not the happy one I explained earlier, where the person is old, grey and fulfilled and maybe even ready. This is a painful death. It hurts. This is a story that many Nigerian parents would use in giving advice to their own kids about what to avoid. This is the perfect bad example. Because there are so many things wrong with the circumstances of Ataga's death that is nothing but bad news. And it will inform, you see, for the next 5 years, maybe even 10 years, Nigerian parents will use this to advise their own kids on what not to do. Let's hear her account again. And you tell me what you make of this.
It was midnight, so we have drank and we have smoked SK loud, so I was already sleepy. And then when it came on second, it was violent about it. He locked the door. I didn't know where he kept the key. When I get to the door, he would draw me back, and that was what happened. The first one was twice on the neck side. And then when he dragged the knife from me, he managed to slice my hand. And then as he was holding it, the knife broke, so it slipped off from his hand. But then it was now weak, and then he fell on the floor. Well, while he was lying there, I changed, and then I looked for the key for where he ate it, and I left him.
So let me tell you all the things that can come out of this. The first one, of course, is what everybody on social media is talking about. She was with a married man. Imagine, the man has a wife, she's a side chick, she's this one, she's that one, a 21-year-old with a 40, I don't know if he was 40 or 50. Can you imagine these men taking all the young girls? Or, if you want to look at it from the other side, these young girls taking all our men. The wife is at home, toiling, suffering, praying, crying, weeping, wailing. And the man is somewhere with a young girl that he wants to pump his blood to make him feel young. That's one of the main things. The sugar daddy theories will come out. The chronicles of the university girl that is spoiled silly by the rich man. We would remember that the man needs to feel young again. The next story that will come out of this is, say no to drugs. They were smoking and they were drinking. Some will say, it's not even that they are doing sugar daddy that is paining me. It's that they were smoking. If it's not for that thing they were drinking that they got high, maybe they will not be where they are today. And so advice number 2, fathers and mothers will say, Chinedu, this one you are going to school, please avoid bad gang. That's how our parents like to call it. These people smoking all this thing they are smoking. Please, you remember that girl? You say, Mama, which one? That one, that time. Of course, by then this will be history. It will be a reference point. We killed that man. Now smoke, then they smoke. At that point, Chinedu is tired of the advice, but hey, it's his mom. He has to wait for the entire hour or more. And his man is like, nah, this woman said, allow me go now. Say, nah, then they smoke. So that's another thing that comes out of this. The next one is, well, it seemed, of course, all we have is the girl's account. it seemed like it was an abusive relationship. He took the knife, he stabbed me, I blocked it, I collected, I don't know who was blocking who. And so other people giving advice say, no go marry person where they carry knife. This is a bad example of bad examples. But as much as I want to analyze this, and I really lack all the angles, a man is dead. And this is one of the people who you would say became famous in death. You know that famous in death syndrome? That situation where you would never have known anybody, known a person, if not for their death. I'll give you an example. George Floyd. Nobody knew George Floyd. He was just a normal, everyday guy in the US. Then what happens? He gets killed by cops in the US. Boom! He becomes a movement of the Black Lives Matter. He's now larger than life. That's what this man has become. Somebody we never knew. Yes, I heard he was CEO of some TV. But now that he's dead, all of a sudden we now know his company. And that's a very bad way to get famous. Now, I'm not judging the actions of the human beings. People will be people. But this is a lesson for us. I'm thinking of all the... I'm thinking about everybody directly involved with this. The family members of the man. I don't know if he has kids. But I imagine tomorrow, they remember how their father died. And they just have to think about how he was doing something with a young girl and one thing led to another. They were smoking and doing this one. It's just too... But hey, it is the bad example of bad examples. And a man is dead. So while you're alive, I'm not saying you should end the relationship with that married man. It's always up to you. I'm saying that all the things your parents told you could happen from your bad engagements can still happen. And again, it doesn't mean that husbands and wives are also not stabbing each other in the house. This didn't happen because they were not married. It happened because the equation was so wrong. So there are things to take out of this. There are lessons for the father who thinks his daughter is in school. There are lessons for the wife who thinks her husband is at work. There are lessons for everybody. This is the perfect sermon. You're a man, there's a lesson for you. You're a woman, there's a lesson for you. You're a girl, there's a lesson. A boy, everybody has a lesson to learn. But do not forget, a man is dead. I'll play it one final time and of course take your thoughts.
It was midnight, so we have drank and we have smoked SK loud, so I was already sleepy. And then when it came on second, he was violent about it. He locked the door. I didn't know where he kept the key. When I get to the door, he would draw me back, and that was what happened. The first one was twice on the neck side. And then when he dragged the knife from me, he managed to slice my hand. And then as he was holding it, the knife broke, so it slipped off from his hand. But then it was now weak, and then he fell on the floor. Well, while he was lying there, I changed, and then I looked for the key for where he ate it, and I left it.
0817-923 0002 0817-923 0003 0817-923 0007 and of course 0817-923 0009. We have the headlines at 5:30. I'd like to take your thoughts before that time. If and when you call, please remember to turn off your radio. She's not just a tart, but a calculated murderer. Well, my dear, investigation would reveal, even though there is confession from the young lady, at this point we're still saying she allegedly killed. So that's what it is. Clement from NTA is on the phone. Hello, Clement.
Hi, Mr. Sam. Good evening.
Evening.
Well, sad story anyway. Sad story. I was waiting for you to say, after you've mentioned the advice that parents will give their children I was waiting keenly for the one that you will say, Papa Junior, as you they come out, so be careful. Sight you there everywhere. You see what will happen now. We see that little girl here. I was waiting for you to mention that keenly, but I did not hear it.
Thank you for mentioning
However,
it.
please help us to tell our sugar daddy too. Because he didn't say it, not only for the small girls and small boys. The sugar daddies should be on the top list of this warning. Thank you, sir.
Well, there's warning for everyone. Clemens, Richard from Rumigbo. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Sam. Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, the story you just gave, I would love to know that this is where our system has failed us. To corroborate this girl's story, I would have imagined that there were forensic guys on duty to check, but I kind of sensed some kind of lie and falsehood in that story. She said, first of all, a man that is holding, I want to imagine that man is around, let me say 50, I don't know his age. He overpowered someone that is a man bigger than her. Arguably, I don't know his friend size of her, but she overpowered the man, took a knife from him to stab the man. I think we have the forensic who can collaborate our story because I feel she is lying. And so the children or to the family of that man, especially if he has a son. Now, do you know how Jack the Ripper was done?
What?
Jack the Ripper witnessed a very traumatic event in his days. His mom was sitting outside with a man, and he went to call him to kill his dad, according to the story I heard from the guy that still trying to solve the mystery. Do you know this young man started killing prostitutes? He was one of the most successful, talk about being famous for the wrong thing. He was one of the most successful serial killers because up to today, they've not solved his mystery. The mystery of Jack the Ripper started from his house. How this guy's child will view young girls now? That's the problem. He invents the wrong story. That girl needs to be checked very well. Because we are using the cover of this whole self-defense and raping and forcing to cover some of our acts. But this matter needs to be investigated thoroughly, and that girl, if found guilty, needs to be prosecuted very well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. That, of course, is where the police force comes into play. If you read plays in school, enters the police. That's how they get introduced to the story. And so investigation should reveal a couple of things. But it is sad that the police has already jeopardized a part of this investigation. Already. But hey, who am I to tell? I'm not the expert. The headlines happen now, and after that, we'll take some messages. We get back to talking about a man who died.
News, Nigeria Info on
92.3.
Headline News.
Good evening. I am Constance Mega with the news. Governor Wike warns against indiscriminate parking of trucks along Pabod Brewery Oginigba Elekahia Link Road. Riwama advises against dumping of wastes on median strips as monthly sanitation is cancelled. JAMB holds exam for candidates from the listed centers in Port Harcourt. JAMB releases results for this year's exam done between last Saturday and Tuesday. President Buhari postpones medical follow-up visits to London. DSS invites Islamic cleric Sheikh Gumi. On the foreign scene, hundreds of people missing after collapse of 12-story building in U.S. city of Miami. Tornado sweeps through several villages in Czech Republic, killing 4 people. In business, hiking cost of yam caused by difficulty in bringing item into River State. In entertainment, singer Mr. P receives honorary doctorates from Benin Republic University. In sports, former Super Eagles player Victor Ezeji faults Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr's decision not to coach home-based team for next weekend's friendly against Mexico. Well, those are the headlines now. More news comes your way at 6. Contact our newsroom on 0818 900 0017. Thank you for listening.
92.3 Nigeria Info.
It was midnight, so we have drank and we have smoked SK loud, so I was already sleepy. And then when it came on second, it was violent about it. He locked the door. I didn't know where he kept the key. When I get to the door, he would draw me back, and that was what happened. The first one was twice on the neck side. And then when he dragged the knife from me, he managed to slice my hand. And then as he was holding it, the knife broke, so it slipped off from his hand. But then it was now weak, and then he fell on the floor. Well, while he was lying there, I changed, and then I looked for the key for where he ate it, and I let it go.
Welcome back. It still is Hard Facts in 92.3 Nigeria Info. The story, and I must add the word ongoing story, of the student that killed the Super TV CEO Usifo Ataga. I'm taking your thoughts to this particular story. It's a painful one. It really is. A couple of persons here stating that this was calculated, premeditated. Maybe the man was drunk, so she did it. Well, she claimed that they were smoking and drinking, so there might have been some intoxication. This is by no means making any excuses for Mr. Ataga. I'm not going to use the word he used here because he has passed or passing judgments on Mrs. Ataga. But the catastrophe could as well been as a result of the former facing two miserable choices. Oh, really? Is that what you think, Ben? Okay. Why is the police always parading suspects without charging them? Emeka from Port Harcourt, you took the thought and the words out of my mouth. This is the most painful part of this for me. This is an ongoing investigation. There are so many pieces to this puzzle, so many parts of the story that we do not know. Parading that girl has ruined a major part of it. Now, there are speculations, not just speculations. Some of the reports on different platforms state that the girl had accomplices. Now, parading her has reduced by a great deal the chances of the police locating those accomplices. It has eliminated the option of using the girl to get the other people. And I know that it is because the police wants applause. Let us clap for them that they are working. This girl has stated her side of the story. There is no way of knowing if she's telling the truth or not. But because we need to rush, let them say, let them know. This is the girl. We caught her. This parading thing, something has to happen. It's not helping. It's not. Dan is on the phone. Hello, Dan. Alright, I lost that call. Good evening. The girl went to a club with the man. They smoked and drank together and went to the same hotel. Well, I won't be taking a lot of comments that are speculative. As I said, we're still getting details of this. What we know now might become something different tomorrow. But I really wish investigation will be completed, at least a good one. Then and only then can we get to the bottom of it. The truth is, without prejudice, what happened marks of premeditated murder, and the said girl may not be acting alone. I advise law enforcement to dig deep to unravel the circumstances. Eluozo Tony from Port Harcourt. Good evening, Mr. Sam. The girl's action was a premeditated one. She did that to accomplish a hidden agenda, which might be related to finance. Jarong from Oyibo. Well, the police claim that she also made some withdrawals from his account, so that says a lot. But really, it will be very bad if we do not get to the bottom of this just because by our own doing. By us, I mean the authorities, because hey, we're all Nigerians. We've ruined this. So what I'm going to leave you with is, let's all be careful. You cannot be too careful. Really, it's impossible to be too careful. Sonny from Ada George is on the phone. Hello, Sonny.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to contribute to this story. For what is happening, actually, this lady, it's maybe, I want to look at it from the spiritual angle.
All right.
You know, it's like she's from a background that is not well trained to handle the way of her behavior, kind of. It's like they say, charity begins at home. What she learned at home, maybe because there's no moral upbringing in her home, she is now following the normal way university students behave, and she wants to be known, like maybe she wants to collect money, and maybe she'll be proving to her friend that I'm going out with somebody who is a CEO or a top class. In fact, she's not doing it alone, just like what everybody is saying. She has some people in the school there that there's a network that they are working using her as a front. Because I want to believe that because they were drunk, she has the ATM number of the man. So she wanted to actually withdraw money, and she wanted to do it in a way that, just imagine what she said, that after she stabbed the man, while he was weak and she left, without making, if it's somebody who is intimate with the man, she will have some remorse and maybe contact somebody to say, look, this is what happened. It wasn't my fault, it was an accident. He was violent to me, wanted to do something. That was her self-defense that made me to stab him. She wasn't having any remorse.
All right.
So I just feel that she's covering something up.
Okay.
Some people maybe they are just after making money. She's not only that, they are in the school like that.
Oh, thank you, Sonny. It'll shock you what kind of family she comes from. It's easy to say, she doesn't have so-so and so training. But there are lots of persons with that training that we think is the best, ending up in worse situations. Moses. All right, I lost that call. Apologies, Moses. Dan from D-Line. Talk to me.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
My own personal opinion, I think based on what happened, I think there is a criminal act in the eyes of that girl. No.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay. Now she says the man forced her after they are taking the drugs and all those things. Normally she may take me because I myself am not there, you are not there. It's only both of them that are there. But why I'm saying this, after stabbing the man to death, he went and withdrew such amount of money from the man's account after killing the man. You see, that's why I said there is a criminal act in that area of that girl. After killing the man, he went and withdrew from the man's account with the man's ATM such amount, 380,000. That girl is something my own state.
Sam from Owerri. Hello, Sam.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
So, according to the story, I've watched and heard what you meant and saying. If I may ask, in the hotel they were, is there any kitchen where she can get close to the knife that she got in stabbing this man? Is it an apartment hotel whereby the kitchen utensils are easily gotten, or did they make meals by themselves, or did she bring the knife in to the hotel that led her to stab this man to that extent? No matter what he or she might have done, it doesn't warrant, killing in that manner. And to the guys that girl in a different, they have groups that they're working with. And the man was not just killed because of he wanted to make one or two with her. It might really be that it's a planned deal.
Okay.
Because I've seen the interview, and Nigerian police are quick to end their cases. But I've gone through the hostel, meet friends of her, that they do chat, go to her Facebook, go to her WhatsApp, you see a lot of things. Then they'll pick up more suspects.
All right. Thank you very much, Sam. But the report states that it's a house where he reportedly lodges in the Lekki area of Lagos. So I'm certain those kinds of apartments. Usually, well, they have everything you need in it. A kitchen and a knife would not be, I beg your pardon, a knife in the kitchen. What is a kitchen and a knife? Would not be out of place in such an apartment. Zion from GRA. Hello, Mr. Zion.
It is a lodged environment. So which means it's like the girl's house, a living room, not a hotel. In my environment, my neighborhood, a particular girl, very beautiful, is living a very touch, of course, it must be touch. Married men paid for her. Because the kind of car coming there and the man that I usually see is a married man. This whole thing is in our environment on daily basis. We see them. We know them. But the lessons we learn should be most paramount.
Thank you, Mr. Zion. Well, it's beautiful that we're doing the investigation for the police, but hey, it's all speculative. I wish, it's also sad that we're at the point of just wishing, that this was handled better. I wish that young lady was not paraded. I wish that we can add one to another one and make out two, and really understand the details of this case. But we can only wish. But the thing that we all know stands true is that that man is dead. And so I'm hoping that you and I do not find ourselves at a dead end because of a decision we took or another one we refused to take. I'm hoping. So let's make the right choices. Because this death, I've heard it comes to all of us. At this point, God only knows. And so I'm going to play that song, God Only Knows. 6 o'clock brings the major news. And of course, after that, it's open season.